Why do some people spend so much money on buying an esrog when they could give that money to tzedakah?
This question, or the tone of this question, makes a presumption. And it's a good presumption, it's a good argument. The presumption is that the thing that's most important in this world is to help another human being, or specifically, to help another human being physically. Buying an esrog is between you and God, and the Davish is not going to go hungry if you bought a cheaper esrog or you bought a more expensive esrog. So why, in quotes, waste, end of quote, money on a mitzvah that doesn't really matter to the Eibishter or to you, when you could be busy using this money to help other people through tzedakah? As unpleasant as the response is, the answer is because just as tzedakah is important, helping another human being is important, having a relationship with God is also important. And the real truth of the matter is that what preserves the sensitivity of people to give tzedakah is their relationship with Hashem. In other words, the Ben Adam Lachaveire and the Ben Adam Lamakim feed off each other. And by caring about an esrog, we care about everything that's important. And ultimately, by caring about an esrog, we are more likely to care about a fellow human being and give more tzedakah. So it's an interconnectedness. Now, let me tell you a story. It's a story which addresses this question directly. There was a chassid by the name of Rabbi Paltiel. Rabbi was a very big chassid. He was a madregas tzaddik, that Tzemach Tzedek said. He was gol agresa chassid. And Rabbi was constantly raising money. Constantly. He was always in debt. He was always borrowing money for all kinds of purposes and then raising money to pay his debts and so on. He wasn't raising money for himself. He was raising money for all kinds of causes, to help people, to help institutions, whether it was the sick, or it was the hungry, or it was for Torah, for Hasidus, and so on. So there was an occasion where the Rabbi Paltiel was raising money, and somebody asked him what he was raising money for. So he answered, this was the old Hasidic expression, Meklad Geld of Mashke. He was raising money to make a Chassidische Farbrengen for some occasion. So somebody in Shul told him exactly what this person who asked this question said. Why are you wasting money on Farbrengens? Give the money to tzedakah. There's poor people in the world. So Rabbi Paltiel's response to this person's question was, you're right. He took all the money that he had raised for Mashke and gave it away to tzedakah to help poor people, and then turned around and said, okay, I've climbed Geld of Mashke, and started over again. Sure, the most important thing is to help another person. This is true al Piteiro also. Right? In the case of Pekuach Nefesh, when a person's life is in danger, you push aside the whole Torah. So it's certainly the most important thing to help a fellow person. Begashmias, and for sure also in Alachas Kama V'Kama Beruchnias. But it's half of it. And the other half of it has been Adam Lachaveri, our relationship with Hashem. In our relationship with Hashem, there has to be Zekeli and Vanvei. Things have to be very beautiful. You know, a person who gives tzedakah, a lot of people give tzedakah, yeah? Lives in a house, drives a car, eat food. Are they always particular that the car they drive is the cheapest, the clothing they wear is the cheapest, the home they live in is the cheapest, or they want it to be nice and beautiful and the best? And if you ask them, what about the fact that this money can be spent better to save a hungry person? There's all kinds of explanations. One of them is they don't care that much, not prepared to make such sacrifices. And another is, if they're going to live in comfort, they're going to be in a much more encouraged position to help others. If you feel deprived, you know the story that a chassid who was very rich came to his Rebbe and said, what should I eat? And the Rebbe said, eat meat and fresh and white bread every single day. So the chassid says to his Rebbe, what about eskafia? So the Rebbe says, if you'll eat meat and white bread, the poor person won't starve. The comfort that you have in your own home sets up the likelihood of you sharing with somebody else. If you live in poverty, why should you worry about somebody else's poverty? So a person materially in his state of comfort, from a certain perspective at least, is more likely to give. And the same is true with mitzvahs. You can have a cheap esrog and a beautiful esrog. A beautiful esrog is like a nice car in our relationship with the Eibishter. Just like you want your car to be beautiful, you want your esrog to be beautiful. What about the fact that this esrog can be spent the money can be spent to help another person. The answer to this question is we need both. We need the Bein Adam L'Chaveda to help other people, and we need the Bein Adam L'Makom. We need our relationship with Hashem. And just like in a relationship with other people, in our relationship with our material lives, we all want it to be beautiful. In our relationship with the Eibishter, we want it to be beautiful as well. When the Rebbe became Rebbe, he spoke a Sikha, his maiden Fabringen, Yud Shvat Tavshin Yud Aleph. And he made a statement, he called it a statement. And his statement was that there were three interconnected loves. There's love of God, love of Torah, and love of fellow, love of man. And he said, that the previous Rebbe said, that you can't have one or the other. In society, in civilization, you have people who love their fellow person. They're very into charity, helping others. And their relationship to God, they don't consider important. You have people who love Torah, and their relationship with their fellow man is compromised. And then you have people who love Hashem, love God, and don't necessarily translate the love of God into a love of Torah, which is a practical relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, or a love of man, which means to actually help other people. So the Rebbe said you cannot separate these three loves. The motivation for helping another person is your relationship with God. The motivation for your relationship with God is helping another person. They feed off each other. In other words, goodness draws strength from godness. And godness draws strength from goodness. So the beautiful esrog, which is part of our relationship with Hashem, creates a certain sentiment in us, which makes us a better person because of a relationship with Hashem, which will likely result in being in a position to help a fellow person. And vice versa, helping other human beings, being generous to other human beings, giving of ourselves to other human beings opens us up to the possibility of having a relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And this is the spirit of Zeh Keli Evaniveu. This is the spirit that the money that we earn under ordinary conditions, there's halachas about how the money should be apportioned. But just as it's very important to help others, it's also important to have a meaningful relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which is why we do mitzvahs, and we do mitzvahs to the best of our abilities. Not the mitzvahs to be as beautiful as they could possibly be, because we feed off that in our relationship to our fellow. What I do agree with is how we spend the money on the mitzvahs. The point of having a nice esrog is not to come to shul and be able to show off that we have the nicest esrog, because that's neither here nor there. That's not about God, that's not about man, it's about self. The reason to have a beautiful esrog is because you want to do the mitzvah beautifully. And that's true. You want to have a nice esrog, you want to have a kosher shtickle matzah, you want to have a beautiful Megillah. Not to be able to say that you have something that somebody else doesn't have, because that's meaningless, that's superficial, that's chitzonius. You want to have a beautiful esrog because of the significance of esrog in terms of it being a mitzvah that connects you to HaKadosh Baruch Hu.